Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones. We have a website.
After yesterday's unqualified WrestleMania disaster.
I'll tell you.
What are you thinking? That's $100?
And I was told that is cheap. I was told that is incredibly cheap.
You could buy 6 cheesesteaks over at Gino's and Pat's.
You can, but I would say D'Alessandro's would be better.
I mean, you're more of a tourist attraction guy. You'd go to Pat's and
Gino's where they're open 24 hours. Yeah. They are open 24 hours. I'll give them that one.
I mean, because you like to go where the crowds are, and then you claim they're all your friends, and it's like, okay, great, fabulous. And you're going. What is it this weekend?
Saturday, yeah. I know. I gotta hope nobody tells me the Final Four results. That way I get back and watch.
Yeah.
Well, I can see the first one for the most part. Second one I can't.
You know what the funny thing is? I know I'm speaking in Jacksonville Friday.
Yeah.
And I know I'm speaking in Daytona Saturday. I don't know what time or where.
Or where.
I don't. They haven't told me what time, and they haven't told me where yet. I just know one's in Jacksonville. I think it's, for all I know, it could be a suburb. It could be whatever. And I know the other one's in Daytona. I could be at the track for all I know. At some point, they'll let me know. Now, they did get back to me on the flight reservation. Now, that part I do have, which is relatively important. I guess I can figure out other stuff after that. Let me see here.
Well, they have the flight time. You almost put 2 and 2 together there, at least, then.
Okay, it's a luncheon, right? Let me see here.
Oh, it's a luncheon. Okay, you definitely can start to narrow it down a little bit more.
One of them is a luncheon. All right. Social time 11:30. Meet and chat with our guest speaker. I wonder who the heck that is. Luncheon program start at 12:15. Okay. And I picked out lemon baked stuffed shrimp. I did do that. To die for chocolate lava cake.
That sounds. I'll take that. To die for chocolate lava cake.
How about that?
James Franklin's right on when he had to cancel the desserts a few years back.
Well, I'm not.
There's so many when you look at them, like, oh man.
No, I can't.
Your calorie intake would go through the roof if you ate everything that was on those dessert tables.
I'm actually pretty good about not having dessert.
No, I'm good at kind of limiting, but I usually try to. If it's there for the taking, I usually. Depending on what it is, but usually I have something.
My flight leaves at 6:23 on Friday. I get there at 11:49. So, okay. I'm going to guess the Daytona thing on Saturday's a luncheon.
I would think so.
I'm going to guess that's the luncheon. I'm going to guess the dinner is that night. I don't think I'm landing and going over to the luncheon.
I wouldn't think
right
so.
Away. I'm here.
Oh, great. Come on in. There's the podium.
Good news.
Mic works. We tested the mic already.
Meet and greet? I don't think so. I guess I better call these guys just to make sure I know what the heck I'm doing. Meanwhile, of course, you'll be among the civilized.
That's right. Oh, yeah.
Cannot believe you're going. I can't. Okay? Can't.
I didn't tell Joe Putnam yet. I'll have to let him know.
Well, man, Putnam would want to go.
No, I know.
I did an interview yesterday with the Lewistown Sentinel about Joe, and I talked about how much he loves
Pro wrestling.
pro wrestling.
Yeah.
And that whenever they bring a pro wrestler in, like when they brought Bret Hart in and George the Animal Steel and people like that, Joe was like, it was the greatest. He said,
I remember when, George the Animal Steel was here. I do remember that. See, I like the nostalgia. I liked when I watched it, in the 80s with that. And that was, obviously George the Animal Steel, Macho Man. Those were the guys that I was around for in Hulk, obviously. But
yeah, that's all you, man. I know how you operate. You will be in the front row before it's all said and done. You'll take
the high roller seats.
Okay, how much are the high roller seats?
They're not cheap. I think they're like $5,000.
You'll be there before
it's all said and done.
The main event.
Am I paying for the upgrade, or am I sneaking down to the point that I just get in?
Now, is one of the main events?
It's
the night you're there.
Oh yeah. Rock and Roman Reigns and Cody and Seth Rollins in the tag match. Yep. Yeah, Cody's. I said yesterday, Dusty Rhodes kid, the American Dream, the late Dusty Rhodes.
I can't even believe we're talking about this. All right.
It's the most I've talked about in a while too.
Whew. All right.
It is when it went to it was tough to begin with when it was
2 nights. It's 2 nights.
2 nights and it's several hours each night.
You're going to be there for 6 hours?
Yeah, because it starts at the event itself is almost 5. Yeah, it starts at 7, ends at midnight.
5 hours?
Mm-hmm. My hope is the civilized folks of Philly let me out quick. Or let the bus out quick. We're taking a bus.
The Braves announcers took a shot at.
I saw that.
Of all people, Brandon Gowden. Too.
I saw, yeah.
Of all Brandon Gowden took a shot like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
How about that?
Right. And you know how much I like Gowden.
Oh yeah.
Gowden's a great guy.
Yep.
Heavy downpours can reduce visibility. All right. So, yeah. Back to work today for Penn State football. They'll go today, Thursday, and then Saturday. And then we're a week from Saturday from the blue-white game. And meanwhile, basketball, it continues to work in the transfer portal, which you have to now. You have no choice. There's some interesting names from the Big Ten now in the transfer portal. Not only Cliff Amore and Derek Simpson from Rutgers, but Gavin Griffiths, the freshman, put his name in. I was a little surprised by that.
Right.
Pharrell Payne from Minnesota put his name in, along with Carrington. Now, Carrington, I expected. Payne was doing this big thing at the Big Ten tournament about we need to keep the band together, and then he put his name in the transfer portal. Jamie Kaiser at Maryland, the freshman, good shooter, right?
I agree.
But he put his name in the transfer portal. Let's see. We already know about A.J. Storr. Connor Esigian put his name in. Esigian is a fabulous shooter. The problem is he doesn't have a great all-around game. Tony Perkins at Iowa put his name in, the point guard. Patrick McCaffrey put his name in. And I wonder if that's a case of older players clearing space for the coach, to make moves. I mean, which is fine. And let's see. C.J. Welcher at Nebraska put his name in. Indiana, I don't think anything's happened much in Indiana. We're waiting on Embarco to make his decision. Oddly enough, Purdue has nobody. Let's see. Ohio State, Scotty Middleton put his name in. Okay. It looks like Demetrius Lilly is ending up at LaSalle. Everybody knows about Kanye Clary going to Mississippi State. Somebody said, you didn't really say anything about Kanye Clary going to Mississippi State. And I said, you know what? And I said, it's very simple. It's very simple, okay? 2 words. And Dick and I go by this credo, all right? And it's filtered over to football for me as well. Yesterday's news.
Yeah, literally.
It's yesterday's news.
Literally.
But I don't worry about it. You know, somebody leaves, yesterday's news. And you move on to the next thing. You know, you concentrate on who's here. And that was something that Joe always talked about. Joe would always tell his coaching staff, worry about who's here, not people who aren't. All right. Okay. Simple as that. I know we mentioned Aaron Brooks winning the Hodge Trophy yesterday. It's just really a remarkable accomplishment. I know what Carter Strachey accomplished this year, but look at the level that Brooks has wrestled at. And it goes back to the first question I asked Cale Sanderson on the show a couple of weeks ago, and it was about Brooks. I said, what does it take to go from one set of opponents at 184 to a completely new set of opponents at 197? I said, changing a weight class. Guys change weight classes, but what are the challenges of it that the fan would not understand? Because, look, you're going through all new opponents. All right? Now, there may be a couple other guys that also moved up that you faced before. But if you notice, Brooks wrestled a little different style this year at 197 than he did at 184. And that's part of the adjustment. Put together a phenomenal year, won the national championship again. He's a 4-time champion. And he ended up winning the Hodge Trophy, and he earned it. He earned it. Other people, if they'd won it, I would have said they earned it. But, you know, he ended up winning it, and he earned it. I always love when I hear, and he deserved it. No, you earned it.
He earned it.
Okay? It's like you don't get handed anything in life at all, despite your repeated efforts.
It's a good effort. It's a complete gallant effort.
Every time I turn around, it's like you're trying. I deserve this. No, you really don't. And it's something that the person that really drummed that into my head, but you have to earn it, is Russ Rose.
Yeah.
Russ is the one that drummed that into my head over and over again. That's why it's so important, and I try to tell my broadcasting class this all the time. Listen to people who have been there, done that. If you listen to people who have been there, done that, and you're listening, you'll pick up more wisdom along the way that will help you and shape how you think. And that's, I think that's important. I know the women's Final Four is set, so UConn and NC State each have a team in the Final Four. I know there's been a lot of stuff about NC State. Well, UConn does too, All right. And you ended up with NC State, ACC, SEC, South Carolina, Big East, UConn, Big Ten, Iowa. It's the same mix as the men.
Yeah.
The men have Alabama, SEC. They have Big Ten, Purdue. They have Big East, UConn, and ACC, NC State. It's the exact same conference mix as the women. Now, I do love the accurate yet disingenuous stories, because everybody's trying to do this comparison thing all the time. I heard one yesterday from CBS Radio News. Yeah, I'm listening to it. And they said, what's a hotter ticket, the women's Final Four or the men's Final Four? And they're going through like the hot ticket in Cleveland and how much it costs and so forth. Compare to the men's Final Four. Hey, over here in the back, where's the part of the story that says that the men's Final Four has 60,000 more seats to sell?
And they'll sell it.
Right? I'm saying, but there's 60,000 to 18,000 seats to 78,000. There's 60,000 more seats to sell. So there's a pretty good chance that it's not as hot a ticket. Okay, that you can get in the building.
And which Final Four has repeatedly been a lottery, not a public sale.
Right.
Not a question, not a shadow of a doubt.
No, but I'm saying, though, don't leave that part out.
No, and they do.
But they do, because it's not as good a story.
No,
and look, they have star power. Caitlin Clark will be there. She played very well offensively again last night.
Especially third quarter. That played incredibly well.
Right. She hit threes, made big shots. passed the ball beautifully last night. Played really, really well. The turning point of the game was when Angel Reese got hurt. I mean, LSU was controlling the game when she got hurt. And then things changed. They couldn't. And Van Lith, the transfer from Louisville, did not play well last night.
No. Very surprising year for her.
But here's the issue, okay? Again, this is not an ESPN TV broadcast, so we don't play fantasy.
Yeah.
Wow, whoa, wow. Okay, not everything's a whoa, wow, whoa, okay? Sometimes it's just a simple layup. Okay. It's the greatest layup ever. I'm like, oh, God. It's like, really? It's very difficult in today's game to win 2x2.
Yeah.
And the fact that Iowa, Marshall can shoot it, Martin can shoot it. Obviously, Caitlin Clark is awesome at shooting it. Okay. But they hit plenty of threes. I think Caitlin Clark hit 9 of them, right? I think last night.
Yep.
Right. As opposed to LSU, which struggled hitting the shot and had to keep going inside. And it's very difficult in today's game to win the game 2x2. All right. And that's just in basketball terms. That's how tough it is because the point value of the shot. You look at Purdue was able to win the other day on the men's side and hit, 3 3-pointers? But for the most part, they've been a team that between Lawyer, Smith, and Gillis, they have guys, and Lance Jones, that can hit the shot. All right? So Purdue's capable of hitting on a good night 7 to 11 threes to go with what's happening with Edie inside. So winning 2x2, which LSU was forced to do last night, is a hard way to live in today's game. And they also need to have an arc underneath the basket because they can't officiate the game down there. They're not very good at it.
No. That's a good point.
This has been great officiating. Oh, I'm sitting at home going, not really. And then I didn't watch all that game. I watched some of it, and I watched some of the UConn USC game. I'd never seen Juju Watkins play before, so I thought, okay, let's see. Like, she's good. Like, I don't sit there and go, whoa.
No, it's got to develop in a lot of things, but she's good. She will. But she's good.
She's just 18 years old.
Exactly.
She's very, very good. And UConn's done a great job because they lost 5 players to injuries, and they've been able to overcome it. It's Gino Auriemma, a guy that is going to his 23rd Final Four, and he's won 11 championships. This, regardless of result, this may be one of the best coaching jobs he's done.
A heck of a job.
I mean, because you can't lose 5 players like that, and do what they've done. So that's very impressive.
And the other thing, I think a lot of times, and especially at the women's game, if it happened to Caitlin Clark, if it happened to Angel Reese, you'd know it immediately. But people tend to forget, as good as she was prior, people tend to forget Becker's torn ACL.
Oh, yeah.
And she comes back, and she has been as dominant as anyone, and I say anyone, including Clark, in this tournament. She has been incredible for UConn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, she's played very, very well. And of course, Juju Watkins will be in the Big Ten next year.
Yep.
So don't forget that. She'll be in the Big Ten. So UConn will play Iowa, and NC State is going to play South Carolina. And in some ways, South Carolina haven't lost a game yet this year. That you kind of feel like that they've been lost in the shuffle here.
Yeah.
And they're the best team, maybe.
Yeah, haven't lost a game. They've been playing with fire a little bit. They've not played well a few games here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's in Cleveland. It'll be Friday night. On a night, by the way, where Blanco threw the no-hitter last night for Houston. I mean, yeah, that's very impressive. This 17th no-hitter in Houston history.
After getting swept by the Yankees, they definitely needed a good, solid performance. There's no question.
Yeah, I guess Albany got dissed by some people. Like,
the location.
Okay, well,
I like the arena there.
Oh no, I don't.
You don't like Pepsi Arena?
What, the old Knickerbocker Arena, which is where they play?
Yeah, I don't mind that arena.
I did a game in there, and I was like, it's all right. Albany's fine. No problem with Albany. The arena's Now, I don't know if they've done something to it since I've been there. I've been in the arena in 9 years. But I don't know. But they're all set with what they're doing, so that's. And now you've got the Final Four, and it's off to Phoenix. Unfortunately, Jerry Valeri said he says, so where's Pahonix? I'm like, going, geez, Jerry, come on. I worry about these people. And the Lady Lions yesterday, tough loss. The game was played at Villanova's pace, and
absolutely.
That's pace means a lot. And that's why, for example, UConn does not, on the men's side, does not play as fast. Okay? They don't play as fast as they did last year because they're a different team than last year. Right? And it's interesting about Tristan Newton. Okay? You can revise history just through success, but you got to turn the clock back 14 months. In the month of January, where UConn struggled last year, right? UConn struggled. They were 500. After being undefeated going into January, they played 500 basketball in January last year. They were 4-4. And there were a lot of questions about whether Newton should be the point guard because he was struggling. And all of a sudden he came out of the month and got into February and started playing the way we've seen now for the past 13 months. He was tremendous. And it's amazing how that can change your perception of what you're seeing out there. And because if you go back 14 months ago, Newton was struggling. Now he is the Cadillac. I mean, he is, or maybe we should refer to it as the Tesla in today's world. It's we're in a Tesla world now.
Gus Johnson says the Maserati to Marvin Harris.
Maserati Marv. I don't think so.
No.
I don't think that works.
No, that does not work.
No, it doesn't work. Yeah.
First time I heard the car reference in sports was when they tried to change Dennis Rodman's style a little bit. Chuck Daly threw a fit, and he said, "Well, do you put a saddle on a Mustang?"
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Underrated on-ball defender. Absolutely underrated on-ball defender.
Who?
Rodman.
Rodman's great on the ball.
Unbelievable. Magic Johnson threw fits in that NBA Finals.
Yeah.
With him on him. Absolutely.
Yeah.
People know his rebounding, but man, was he an unbelievable defender.
Yeah. So keep in mind, ESPN has the semifinals for the women on Friday and the championship game Sunday on ABC. Everything for the men will be on TBS.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
All right, everything will be on TBS.
After we forget about True TV on the dial for another year.
I won't be watching anything on there for a while.
Nope. Yeah, I'm surprised you knew the channel. I didn't know the channel.
Oh,
I had to say True TV. Thank goodness for voice remotes. I had to say True TV into the remote.
Oh, you did? Yeah. No, I did. I actually know the number. We'll see how it plays out. The Pirates are 5-0.
5-0.
First time since 1983. To say I am thrilled about this for the fans, would be an understatement. Because I think the Pirate fans, the loyalty of them is just phenomenal.
I agree.
They haven't been handed a great deck.
No.
Over the years.
And they know it, and they take action on it. And that's why I think that's a great point, saying they are loyal, because they are. And it's not a case of, well, they only come when they win. No, they come when they understand. I think that's really the way you look at it.
Right. And I give them all the credit in the world for the way they've hung in there. Getting O'Neal Cruz back has helped.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any question about that. And again,
having veterans around too, I think has been huge.
Oh, sure, but I give them a lot of credit for what they've done. And Derek Shelton, I said, look, how many times did I say I don't know what kind of manager he is? Because when you're always in last place, how can you tell? You're not playing any meaningful games, and yet he has gone out, to his credit, and he has. Done a great job. I mean, done it really with him. He's done a great job. I'm thrilled about that. I'm happy for the Pirate fans. They haven't even played a home game yet, for goodness sakes.
No.
They'll finally. Do they have to one more road swing before they come back? I think that's what it sounds like. Most of these teams, especially in the North, they're getting them to play South first.
Look here. I know they got obviously the Nationals. And openers Friday. They play the
Openers
Orioles.
Friday with the Orioles. Then they got the Tigers, right?
Yep. Right after that's Tigers. Yep.
And then I know they got the Red Sox.
Yep. Phillies first, and then Phillies, Mets, then Red Sox.
Phillies, Mets, and then Red Sox. Okay.
Phillies, I think, is in Philly. Yeah, it is.
That's in Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's Blue-White Weekend, I think, is when they play the Phillies.
Yeah. Nothing like it. Yeah. Going down to Philadelphia. Right. Just kind of laying
Fans
low.
always greet you warmly. Oh, that's
kind of laying low.
Well, I used to be able to at least test.
You probably get mobbed.
Well, most likely, absolutely.
You usually get mobbed by people.
All the time.
Pictures.
All
they
the
want you
time.
to sign stuff. I'm not surprised.
That's how I learned how to take a selfie. I still don't know how to do it. But I think...
I thought LL Cool J taught you how to do it.
Those commercials are great. The one thing about Philly, though, that's been different, used to be able to wear that 49ers shirt no problem. Not so much anymore these last 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
No, not quite.
Yeah, well, the problem
that stays at home.
It's outlined in neon. Who could miss it? My goodness, flashing lights. I mean, you really do. Like, very... Oh, you're almost obnoxious about it. You're obnoxious about it. It's funny. I was driving in today and I was listening to a show, and they were talking about the draft, the NFL draft.
Yep.
And that told me everything about where we are with certain sports these days.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
No
last night
question.
was a good night for women's
incredible
basketball.
night.
They were talking about the NFL draft. I was like, okay.
Man, oh, man.
Yeah. I'm just telling you what they were talking about. I'm not saying, good, bad, indifferent, whatever. But
You want to talk NFL draft at some point in your show, that's fine. But, that's not the lead story this morning. Not a doubt.
No, but you know what? That's... the NFL draft, I remember the story. Okay, now obviously I wasn't there when it happened, but the story I've read is that Chet Simmons is running ESPN. So he goes to then Commissioner Pete Rozelle and says, now look, ESPN's looking to do anything. They're trying to televise anything at this point. I mean, anything, okay? They need some live programming, and they want to get themselves a foot in the door with the NFL. Yeah. So Chet Simmons goes to Pete Rozelle, and he says, we'd like to carry the draft. And Rozelle looks at him like he's nuts. He says, all we're doing is handing cards and reading them. He says, no, we can do this. Like, You gotta be kidding me, really? He says, they bring me a card and I read it, and that's it. Okay. So, he says, if you want to do it, go ahead, knock yourself out. Well, they go out and they do this thing. And to their credit, they gather all these highlights of every player they can think of. Every player they can think of. And guy gets drafted, and they had Zimmerman, Paul Zimmerman, from Sports Illustrated, and from Sporting News. Because I had the guy from Sporting News on the show several times lately. He was great, and the two of them would argue over the picks, right, all the time. Like, wow. I mean, like, they'd argue over it. Like, it made for good TV. And George Graham was the host, not Chris Berman. It was George Graham. Yeah. He was the host, and it was, and they had all these highlights. It was phenomenal. And so then they kept doing it. And they would broadcast the first 2 rounds. They didn't do every round. And it wasn't a 7-round draft back then either. It was longer.
11 round, yeah.
Yeah, it was longer. So they do the first 2 rounds. And I remember we would go up to the sports information office in Rec Hall, and we would watch the draft there. And one year, Sean Farrell came in, and he's sitting with us, and they'd bring the players by. You know, Mike Munchak came by, he got picked, right? Then Farrell comes in, and they said, "Hey, there's a phone call, Sean. You know, can you take it in the back?" Yeah. So he goes in the back, and the then St. Louis Cardinals are picking. And 5 minutes becomes 10 minutes, becomes 15, and they have to pass, which means they just lose their spot. And I think it was Kansas City that moved into that spot. Whatever. And then the Cardinals drafted, wasn't Lomas Brown, because Lomas Brown went to Detroit, right?
Detroit, yeah.
The guy they drafted was a tackle, ended up being really good. And then Tampa Bay drafted Farrell after that. So the whole thing was, what the heck happened? Why'd the Cardinals pass? Well, remember that phone call he went back to take? It was the St. Louis Cardinals. And he's telling the Cardinals, "Hey, you picked me, I'm not signing. I'm not going." So he's telling. He told us this. This is not this is not like a secondhand thing. He came out with, Sean Farrell. He's very direct about everything he did in life. Right? And he says, nah, I told him. He said, I think somebody said, "Well, would you have actually sat out?" He goes, "I don't know." So I figured I'd just say it.
Tell him that.
I'd see what happened. Well, that's why the Cardinals ended up passing. And that's a fun draft story. Now, here's another fun draft story. Now, Penn State goes through the 1986 season, and they win the national championship, as we all know. And I know the world knows that Miami was stacked with NFL players. Well, here's the other part. Penn State was stacked with players. The number of NFL players on that field that night in Tempe was phenomenal. Okay. Well, Paul Alexander's sister lived in Manhattan. So he said, I can get into the NFL draft. This is great. This is phenomenal. All right. I said, well, I'll host the show like we always do. I said, and then Mike Mackey who's now a producer at a TV station in Fort Myers. He'd been in Orlando for a long time. Now he's in Fort Myers. Was our, quote, intern at the time, and it was his job to get guys on the phone. Great. So, 86 season, Shane Conlon, boom. Mm-hmm. This is April of 87. I'm doing this show. And Shane Conlon gets picked. Mike has the phone number, gets Shane on the phone. Right? DJ Dozier gets picked by the Vikings. Mike gets DJ on the phone, gets DJ on the show. I mean, this is going along. I mean, this is like, yeah. I mean, I take no credit for this. All these people are just out there doing great work. Paul's there reporting all this stuff, the great stuff he's got on hand, interviews, the whole thing. Mike's getting guests. I'm just sitting there, the beneficiary of sitting in the chair, having other people around me really working their tails off. Well, ESPN's done with the TV part of the draft at the end of round 2. Well, now we go to round 3. Oh, the show's still going on. Right? And Steve Smith and Tim Manoa get picked back to back. Smith was picked by the Raiders, and Manoa got picked by the Browns. Cool. Okay. All right. So we announce it because Paul is there. Paul announces on the show, Steve, we just got a pick here. The Raiders have picked Steve Smith. All right. Bum, bum, bum. Kind of hanging in there a little bit. And all of a sudden, excuse me, my apologies. And then suddenly Manoa gets picked, and Paul announces that. So Mike goes out, and he's got the phone numbers. He gets Steve Smith on the show. Right? I said, what was your, so I'm asking questions. I go, Steve, great to have you with us. I said, congratulations on the Raiders. What was your reaction when the Raiders and Al Davis called you? And he paused for a moment, and he gave an answer which management had to have loved. They haven't called me yet. The only reason I know is because I was listening to your show. And he says, and you guys announced it. That's why I know that I got picked by the Raiders. I said, so Paul Alexander told you? He says, essentially, yes.
Nice.
Yes, and they're like going, I feel pretty good about this. Way to go, Paul.
The sad part about
Paul.
that.
Mike, way to get him on. Way to go, Mike. I mean, I'm telling you, it's like, now that's teamwork, man.
That is. Heck yeah.
That is teamwork right there.
The only sad part of that still happens today.
That
these players learn via other outside sources what's going on before they know within their own locker room what's going on.
Yeah, that's not good. And
no.
That's not the way it should be.
No, absolutely not.
That's not the way it should be.
Absolutely not.
It should always be coming from whomever is in charge. Yeah. Always.
And that is the one thing where, look, I go back to LeBron's decision. I thought it was at times a little bit of a mistake.
Oh, the way they did it was a mistake. It was ridiculous.
But the other flip side of that was what I was thinking with exactly that. You should have let management know first. Management should let players know first on things, too. It's a two-way street.
Always. Okay? I mean, Jim Ferry found out he was not the head basketball coach at Penn State from social media.
Yeah.
Before he went into the meeting.
Should not happen.
That shouldn't happen.
Should not happen.
Okay, now the people here that were in charge that are no longer here, right? That's why I'll talk about the story now. But I'm sorry, you can't have that. You can't have that.
Absolutely not.
The person involved should always be, once the decision is made, they should find out right away instead of having it leaked out.
Yeah.
Like, really? I mean, come on. It's just, and it happens far too often.
Big time. I agree.
Where it gets out on social media. I mean, look, I'm sorry. Social media is when used properly is great.
Good. I agree.
Okay. Social media is not used. I don't know about you, but I'm sensing less and less reliance on Twitter, less and less, or X,
Yes.
less and less reliance on Instagram.
Yes.
I think
I agree.
I think it has a shelf life.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's going away because it's not, but I think the reliance on it is less.
And I agree. Especially Twitter. I agree.
Right. I think that,
Or X or whatever it's called now.
right. Yeah. It's X, Instagram even where, I know the players can put out their own stuff as to what they're doing. But I'm sensing.
And that's fine. Yeah, the players itself, I have no problem with. None.
I have no problem with that at all. But I just sense it doesn't have the same level of importance it had 2, 4, 6 years ago.
Yeah, I agree.
And I know that, for example, and I tell the young people in my class, I said, look, I said, you need to be on it.
Mm-hmm.
I said, for a couple reasons.
Yeah.
I said, number one, you need to put out, for your personal brand, what you're doing, get people attracted to stories you're doing on the air or whatever. Hey, by the way, coming up, we're going to do a report tonight on Kerwinsville softball, whatever, okay? Just as an example. I said, you have to. I said, that's one of the cool things about being at this stage of my life. I said, I don't have to.
Necessarily have to.
I said, I don't. It's like, all right. And I've had people ask me, I have domains. I do have a Twitter account.
I have Twitter. I have a Facebook. I think I have an Instagram.
And a Facebook account.
Yeah, I think I have an Instagram.
I don't have Instagram.
I think I do.
And
I'm not 100% sure if I
except
do.
for on Facebook, I'll send happy birthdays.
Yeah, I do the same.
Yeah. That's it.
I do the same.
Twitter, X, no. I don't put anything out. Right, but I want the domain because I don't want somebody posting under my name.
Under your name, exactly.
Where they think it's me.
Yep.
That's not. It would be unfair to the programs I broadcast. It's unfair to the people I work with, and in particular, it's unfair to me, giving it a false impression to the people I work with that I'm putting something out there when I'm not. All right, what a fun day. I know you're gearing up for WrestleMania. I suppose you're staying at a top flight hotel.
Top flight ride, bus ride home immediately.
Just the whole thing's just. Every time I'm done with the show, I feel I have to go wash up.